Hey there, hope you're doing good. Today I'll talk about why I wouldn't recommend Java for server side work. It's fine on Android, that's a different conversation, but we're talking about the server here. There are a few reasons why I wouldn't recommend it. There's a language, there's a culture. The language is fine, there are better alternatives today, perhaps Go, which eliminates some problems that Java can have, like race conditions. Both Go and Node.js eliminate this problem, and they do so in different ways. Node.js by having only one thread and using async await and promises to multiplex things onto that thread. Go by having Go routines, which are like processes. They have their own memory, and it is not idiomatic Go to share references between Go routines. So that way you don't have race conditions. So both of these languages eliminate race conditions that Java is prone to. The other thing is that Java consumes a lot of memory. Switching to Go can reduce your memory consumption by 10x. It's a fine language. It still does some things today very well that other languages don't do as well. Like Swift, for example. Java's exception handling is, well, exceptional. It's very good. So Java as a language has its merits and demerits. Fine, I mean, it's okay. I would prefer a dynamically typed language. Like we can discuss these pros and cons. But the bigger problem with Java is its culture. It has a culture of over design. Everything is abstracted out. Every possible design pattern is used, whether or not it makes sense. Everything we try to make it, or Java engineers try to make it extensible, testable, and so on. You shouldn't use these tools when they don't apply. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer Simpson adds a microwave oven to his car. He thinks a car with more gadgets is better. Then he adds a huge satellite dish on top so that he can watch TV, and so on. Finally, the car becomes so heavy that it can move only slowly. So, a car with more gadgets is not necessarily better. Similarly, the most generic extensible code is not the best. It's often over designed. And in Java, for example, we use factories unnecessarily. I worked with an otherwise good Java engineer who insisted that every class must have a factory. No, that doesn't make sense. That's like saying every house should have a lobby. No, hotels have lobbies, not houses, right? You can't blindly take a principle and apply it where it doesn't make sense. So Java has this culture of over design. Everything is made generic. Every class has an interface that you need to program to and not to the class. These are techniques that are fine when used appropriately. But Java culture tends to encourage overuse. So that is one problem with the Java culture. The other thing is from the hiring point of view, when you hire Java engineers, you often get people who have stagnated. They have a lot of experience, like 10 years. So they command a high salary and they have stopped learning 10 years ago. Because that is when Java was cool. Like Java had its peak 10, 15 years ago, right? In terms of coolness, I'm not talking about usage graphs and all this. At that time, all these people learned Java. You know, in different languages have their peaks at different times. Rails had its peak in 2005 or so, 2007. That's when it was the coolest. I'm not saying Rails is a bad tool today. I'm not saying people are using it today. I'm not saying people are not using it today. Sorry. But in terms of coolness and hype, the peak was 2005. Similarly, Java had its peak much earlier, right? Much before 2022. And many of the Java engineers caught on to Java in those days and they kept sticking with it. They didn't investigate other alternatives. They have stagnated. And you don't want to hire such people. You want somebody who keeps exploring newer things, not somebody who's becoming technically obsolete. Again, Java is not technically obsolete, but people who stick with only one technology for 10 plus years are technically obsolete. So you don't want to hire those people. So these are the two reasons why I wouldn't recommend Java on the server side. One is there are better tools. If you want productivity, use a dynamically typed language like Rails or Django or Node. If you want to optimize for memory consumption, use Go. Right? But there is typically a better option. So that's the first reason I wouldn't recommend Java. It's not bad for the server, it's fine. It's just that there are better alternatives today. They may be better for your use case or not, but you at least have to investigate them. The second reason I wouldn't recommend Java as a default starting point today is the culture, the over design, as well as the people, the engineers who have stagnated. Again, not all, but many Java engineers. So this is why I won't recommend Java for the server side. If you'd like me to help you have the right architecture, my consulting link is in the description.